Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Got
Good
a few
morning.
faces here. Excited. So this morning, during the month, we tried to change it up and offer more fun and engaging topics. So our last one was Rethink Your Drink, and our BLT agents did an excellent job of discussing alternative sweeteners, how much sugar is in our beverages, and healthy ways to hydrate. And today we are actually discussing charcuterie boards. Can everyone see my slide, I believe?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We try to keep these around 30, 45 minutes. And we're going to get started. So, I like to engage. I like to ask a lot of questions. So how many of you are familiar with charcuterie boards? I don't like looking at myself.
I've heard of it. I'm not.
Okay. So
Hey.
we're gonna learn something today. I'm gonna move on to the next slide. I would like to introduce Amanda Krippel and Kristina. They're going to do the second half of the presentation. And I am, along with Lora Jorgensen, we're gonna do the educational component. Okay, let's move on. So charcuterie is really the art of preparing and assembling cured meats, and most of the time is pork. And it's a French word that really translates to the pork butcher shop. So I guess it's something that has really taken off here. I would say in the past 5 years, a lot of people serve these boards when they're having wine or at parties or gatherings. And I saw a post on Facebook that it's nothing but a fancy Lunchable. That if you have young kids and you buy those little Lunchables that have meat, cheese, and crackers, that was pretty funny to me. So in addition to the cured meats on it, you may have some bread, some fruit, some nuts, condiments, all types of different things, different types of cheeses. If you have multiple cheeses, then every bite would taste a little differently when it's paired with the meat. And you may have some fresh or dry fruits on it, other brine meats, some chocolate crackers, different things. What I like about charcuterie boards are that they're very colorful and appealing to the eye. So if I went to a restaurant or I was at a party, just looking at all the vibrant colors, I would just get excited by looking at it. And if you're hosting a party, I think this is it's something that you can prepare ahead of time, and it's one less thing that you have to worry about as your family members or your guests arrive. This is something that you can make like the day before, or at least have everything cut up and assemble it a little later, earlier before they come. And you're not rushing. You have time to sit down and enjoy your guests. As with any type of gathering that you're hosting, the most important thing is to have fun. You don't want to make it where you're overwhelmed, but always try to have fun with you, because your guests, they're going to feed off your energy. If they see that you're stressed and not enjoying yourself, it kind of sets the tone for your event. So as extension educators, we always have to have the educational component in what we do. So I always like to go back to my plate. Uh, and my plate is the meal pattern of what we should eat throughout the day, each day. So for adults, you want to try to have 1.5 cups of fruit. And the thing with fruit is to, focus on the whole fruit if possible, so that you're not getting the fruit juices. We know fruit juices have a lot of added sugar, but when you're able to eat the actual fruit, you're able to get the vitamins and minerals and even the extra fiber that helps in the digestive process. And other ways, other than fresh fruits, you can have the frozen, the canned, or the dried. So those are ways for you to obtain that 1.5 cups of fruit each day. With your vegetables, you're going to go, your aim is 2.5 cups throughout the day. And vary your vegetables. Try to include different fruits and vegetables. If you're a person who eats green beans all the time, then try different vegetables. Try the different colors. You have your dark green, your red, and your oranges. Just try to include more of a variety in your diet. And just like the fruits, fresh is good, but frozen and canned are just as acceptable. And I think Kristina may discuss the vegetables a little later. With our grains, you want to try to have 6 ounces a day, and you want to try to make half of those your whole grains, being your browns, your brown rice, your whole grain breads. So 6 ounces a day is what you want to aim for. Your protein, we love our protein. We love our meats. We This is one that we will not go under typically, but we go over in a day. And just try to mix up your proteins. Go with lean meats. You want to try to include seafood, beans and peas, nuts. Those are all great forms of protein that we can have in our diet. And with dairy, a lot of people think I'm not a kid, I'm not a young child, so I don't need dairy in my diet. Susan, I hope you're recording. I don't need dairy in my diet. When we actually do, throughout our life cycle, we need to include dairy in our diet, especially if you have hypertension or any other chronic diseases, unless you have like lactose, you're lactose intolerant, but there are other ways that you can still have the dairy and get the benefits of calcium and all of that. So make sure that you, throughout the day, that you still aim for all parts of my plate. Half of the plate, fruits and vegetables, your grain, your protein, and your dairy. If at any time you have questions, let us know. I know we talk about my plate a lot, but my plate is just a great pattern. When you sit down for breakfast, try to have all of these parts included. When you sit down for lunch, try to have all the parts included, and your dinner. The goal is to just try to have as much of the requirements needed or asked for in each day. Try to incorporate those into all your meals. Okay. So when we look at what goes into our charcuterie board, then we can still pattern our shopping list or the items that we place on the board. We can still make those fit into my plate. So with our fruit, we can have the grapes, the cherries, all types of berries, oranges, dried fruit, watermelon, figs. These are just some examples, and I'm sure there are so many more that can be added. With our vegetables, remember, vary your vegetables. Just picture all of these different colors here. You have your sun-dried tomatoes, your leafy greens, your avocados, pickles, red and orange sweet peppers, cucumbers. These are just a variety of different vegetables that can be placed on your charcuterie board. And we have our grains. Remember, make half of your grains whole grains. So you can have your crackers. It was recommended Triscuits. You can have little bread or sourdough baguettes. All of these are just different examples of items that can be placed on your charcuterie board. And with your proteins, because most charcuterie boards have a lot of pork on them, it doesn't mean that that's the only source of protein. Your nuts, pecans, macadamia nuts, cashews, those are all items that will fall under the nuts, the protein section. And even hummus. Hummus is made out of chickpeas, therefore it is a great source of protein. And often, sometimes individuals, depending on your taste buds, depending on the event, they may have some salmon on theirs, or even some steak. So I think with a charcuterie board, it's really whatever you desire, whatever your preference is. You want to just make it something that you're proud of. Did anyone have a question? Okay. And we're with our dairy. I did a presentation yesterday on dairy and when you have hypertension, the importance of moving to low fat, fat free, so that you're getting all of the health benefits, the vitamins and minerals, but what you're reducing is your saturated fat. So whenever possible, try to go to the low fat, 1%, 2% skim. Just move away from those whole milk products. And that can be, even in your yogurts, your milks, and any other dairy products. So some examples of items to have on your shopping list with the dairy for your charcuterie board would be some goat cheese, mozzarella cheese, cheddar, gorgonzola, and parmesan. So these are all different flavors, and just think of combining those with the different meat types that you have on there. Just flavor, flavor, flavor. So other than your items that fall into my plate, of course, you want your board to have a variety of flavors. So these are add-ons. These are things that you can place on there. Your honey, your sweets, you can have some honey on there as a dipping sauce. You can have yogurt or chocolate covered pretzels or Nutella. So just different varieties and different colors. And then we have some more dips that can be placed on there. Just whatever your preference is. This is just a sample, but with anything, you want to make it yours. So I'm going to pause for a moment, and my coworker, Lora Jorgensen, she's going to discuss food safety as it relates to your board.
Thanks, Sonja. Hi, everybody. I just want to talk a little bit about food safety. Of course, especially if we're serving guests, and always when we're preparing foods in our homes, we want to be sure that we're avoiding any chance of foodborne illness. So following these 4 simple steps can really help you avoid that. So the first step here, cleaning, is talking about cleaning your hands and also your fruits and vegetables. Washing your hands before you prep food is one of the best ways to avoid getting any bacteria from your hands onto your foods. So always be sure to use proper hand washing technique and do that before you touch or handle any of your foods. Cleaning your fruits and vegetables is really important too. It's very important to wash your fruits and veggies under under your sink water, just cool running water, rubbing them really good with your hands, or even using a soft vegetable brush, and just washing all the surfaces. And this will remove any remaining dirt or bacteria from the surfaces of those fruits and veggies before you prep them. Secondly, separating foods while you're prepping them is a great way to avoid cross-contamination. So especially keeping our meats separated from our fruits and veggies is really important. Use separate cutting boards, use separate utensils, and of course, after you finish prepping one item, wash those things, the cutting boards, the surfaces, your utensils, wash real good in hot soapy water, and even use a sanitizing spray just to make sure that any bacteria don't get carried over into the next thing that you prep. Thirdly, cooking is really important, cooking things to proper temperatures. Now on a charcuterie board, we may not have a lot of cooked items that we're cooking because of course, we're talking about a lot of, preserved meats and cheeses and things like that. However, like Sonja mentioned, you may have some steak, some salmon, some grilled chicken, something like that you're preparing, you're cooking. So it's real important to use a meat thermometer whenever you cook meats and make sure that you're cooking those meats to their proper safe temperature. And like the thermometer in the picture here, good thermometers will show you real clearly the proper temperature for each different type of meat. And then lastly, chilling. And I'll talk a little bit about the holding time too. When you have that beautiful board sitting out displayed and for your guests to be serving themselves from, a couple things to keep in mind as far as food safety. Have your guests really encourage them to use toothpicks or put out little separate forks or utensils for them to be serving themselves from that board. This can just prevent, germs from hands getting onto the other foods. So that's real important. And then Plan so that any foods that you have out at room temperature are only out for about 2 hours at the most. After 2 hours, the potential is there for bacteria to start growing on the foods. So we want to be sure that we're timing things right. And after that 2 hour window, getting things back into the refrigerator to chill down to refrigerator temperatures to avoid bacterial growth and the potential of foodborne illness.
Okay, Laura, were you finished?
Oh, I'm finished.
Okay. Well, let me go to, are there any questions about food safety in the charcuterie board? Okay. So I have some very unclear pictures, but I wanted to show you that in charcuterie boards, you can, in addition to using pork, boards of all sorts have really become popular. And I have just a few examples. If you're hosting a breakfast at your home or any other place, then you can place pancakes and waffles, your bacon and fruits, all types of things on the board to make it more appealing. I just think the concept of boards are just so appealing, and just having everything laid out and colorful, it just makes me want to eat it even more. And you have dessert boards now. You see a lot of the dip pretzels along with popcorns, and you still have your fruit there. So very popular. Also at the bottom, we have some sliders that are placed on the board so guests can serve themselves along with hot dogs and tacos. So these boards and this whole concept has just really become popular. And I like them because if you go to a party or you're hosting an event, just laying out things and just making it all eye appealing is great. So now we're going to move into putting your board together, laying out everything. So the first thing that you want to do is have your board or your platter, some small bowls to place your wet ingredients inside. You have knives, spoons, toothpicks, or tongs for serving. I think Laura mentioned that as far as it relates to food safety, especially right now. And one recommendation is that you take some wax paper or clear wrap or parchment paper to place it over your board to prevent the fats and oils from seeping inside your wood. If you have you slice or cube the meats and cheeses if needed. Sometimes you can purchase those already sliced and cubed, and wash and prep your veggies and your fruits. And then you start arranging it. Some people start with the meat and cheeses. Some people start with their sauces in the little containers because if you lay those out and then you just place everything around them. And fill in the gaps with your crackers, your sliced breads, nuts, and even bunches of leafy greens. I see some rosemary on the one displayed. And you want to serve immediately, like I stated before, with toothpicks, napkins, and small plates. And now I have a few announcements, and I'm going to turn it over to Amanda. I guess this is kind of out of order, but we're having fun today. I do want to make an announcement that tonight we are having line dancing with Lee, and I see Lee is a guest here. So if you want to, eating is one thing, but we got to burn those calories. And Lee is going to give us a great workout tonight at 6 o'clock. If you would like the link, feel free to place your information in the chat, or you can email or call Susan. I think by now everybody knows Susan. So it will be delivered via Zoom, and you are more than welcome to join us. Have some water, some lace-up shoes, a towel, and some space to move around. So tonight we're going to definitely burn some calories. Also, beginning April the 10th, we will host Saturday morning diabetes classes from about 10 to 11:30. So if you are interested in attending those classes, also please contact Susan so we can get you registered. This is a free class. We have a grant from the Department of State Health Services. So we will offer that class on Saturday mornings. And if you have friends or family members who work during the week, this is an excellent opportunity for them to gain information on how to better control their diabetes and their blood glucose. April, we will have 2 Wellness Wednesdays. The dates are April 14th and the 28th. Our topics for the month will be financial literacy. I think we have Miss Letitia on. She will conduct that presentation, and Amanda will do one on mindfulness. So we're excited about everything that's taking place in our organization. And if you all have topics that you would like for us to discuss, please let us know. We understand that, you know, these are trying times. People become very bored with virtual learning. I know if I sit in on too many meetings, I get so exhausted, but we try to make them fun and engaging. So by all means, let us know what you would be interested in. So remember, line dancing tonight and diabetes classes in April. And guess what? Now I'm going to turn it over to Amanda. If you would like to make her bigger, you can see her, but you can also pin her so that she shows up big on your screen. Thanks, everyone. And we may include a survey for you to complete. As always, please share your comments. I'm going to stop sharing. So remember, pin Amanda so that she shows up bigger. Okay, I got to stop sharing.
Oh, there we are. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our part 2 class of our Wellness Wednesday Charcuterie Boards. My name is Amanda Krippel. I am the Harris County Family Community Health Agent here in Harris County, and today I have my colleague from BLT.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kristina.
Today we are going to assemble our charcuterie board. And as Sonja mentioned, we need a board, and it could be any kind of board. It doesn't have to be fancy. We have this really great board from Kristina that loaned us here. We will need some bowls if you want to put any types of dips or olives or extra cheeses in here. And then of course you'll need all your meats and your cheeses, your fruits and your veggies. So let's get started. So it's recommended that you start with placing your bowls on your board. So I have one bowl here with the cheese, and I'm just gonna put it here. And again, there's no right way or wrong way to do a board, right, Kristina?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could do it any way you want it. I'm gonna put this bowl that I'm gonna fill with olives in just a second. So I'm just gonna put it right here. And then I'm gonna use this bowl to fill with our nuts. And I'm just gonna put it right there. Next, we are going to put our cheeses down. And while I put some cheeses down, Kristina is gonna talk about some nutritional value and also maybe some different alternatives to cheeses. So first, I'm gonna put down our soft cheese, and this is a brie. So Kristina, do you want to talk a little bit about a brie?
Sure. Yeah, I'll talk about cheese in general. And I know Sonja did a great job of discussing my plate and all the different food groups that we want to incorporate into our meals, as well as our charcuterie boards. So with cheese, we're getting a really great dairy source. It's going to provide some calcium, some protein. One thing we do want to be mindful of is sodium, especially throughout the board, because charcuterie features so many meats and cheeses, which can often be fairly high in sodium. Sodium is something that we absolutely need for our bodies to function, but the average American is getting more than the recommended amount. So an easy way to kind of, decrease the sodium that we're getting is by opting for some lower sodium options. With our cheeses, our soft cheese actually tends to be a little bit lower in sodium. So things like goat cheese that is soft, like the one we have here, as well as the brie, are going to be a bit lower in sodium than some of our harder cheeses. So that's one good spot.
Awesome. So I laid out our brie, and the brie is a soft cheese, and I just sliced it up so when people are ready to come and eat, they can just grab a little slice and put on their plate. I also have another soft cheese here, which is a goat cheese, and this is plain goat cheese. And I actually like to drizzle a little bit of honey on that to make it a little sweet. So we're gonna just do a little drizzle. And Kristina, can we use a different, like can we use agave on? I know people like to use like agave or a different type of sweetener on maybe a goat cheese? Like, what do you recommend? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really up to your preference. You can use agave. You could experiment with baby maple syrup or adding fruit to goat cheese. One thing to keep in mind is, our honey, maple syrup, agave, whatever you're adding is going to be considered an added sugar. So we want to just use a little, like Amanda did, like a drizzle, just to limit the amount of added sugar that we have.
Awesome. So next we have a hard cheese, and for the sake of time, we actually cut all our cheeses and our fruits and our veggies ahead of time because we don't want to keep it here forever. So the next cheese I chose is a hard cheese, and this is called manchego. And I believe, I could be wrong, manchego, please don't kill me. I think it's a Spanish cheese, and this is a hard cheese. And I just cut it up into tiny little squares, just something different. And then Kristina, what do you think about manchego cheese? It's a hard cheese.
Right, yeah. So this one might have a little bit more sodium per serving than some of the softer cheeses like fresh mozzarella and Swiss. But one thing to keep in mind with our aged cheese is they tend to have stronger flavors. So we may just be grabbing a smaller amount and already limit our sodium that way.
Yeah. It is powerful and pungent. It smells really, really good. I like a good stinky cheese. So that is a really good, powerful cheese. So the next hard cheese that we picked is called Gruyere. I don't know. I hope I'm not butchering that name. Gruyere is another semi-hard cheese. And what I did is I just sliced it into long little strips, just something a little different. And then again, I put manchego there. I'm just going to put a couple of Gruyere on this side. So Kristina, what about Gruyere? What do you think about that cheese?
It's delicious. It is one that actually melts really nicely, so it can be good to add to things that you're melting if you wanted to do a cheese dip. It can also get a little pricey sometimes, so Swiss is actually a good kind of substitute if you're looking to save a little money.
Oh, that's good. So Swiss cheese.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe like an aged Swiss.
Okay. And then lastly, our other semi-hard cheese, we use the good old-fashioned sharp cheddar cheese. It comes in a block, and all I did for that one is just chop it up into just little rectangles. Just kept it. You could be, if you want to get fancy and do maybe triangles, you're more than welcome. But we here at Extension, we're going to keep it simple and easy. So what about sharp cheddar, Kristina? What about that one?
I think it's great to include, it's adding some different colors, but also sharp cheddar or any kind of cheddar is one that most people like the taste of. And so having a good variety like Amanda has here, you're sure to please everybody.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Because not a lot of people like a good stinky cheese like we do. So having, the sharp cheddar, you can do mild cheddar. I've seen people do, like you mentioned mozzarella, like they just cut up little pieces and put it there. So we put down our, so we have the manchego, the cheddar, the brie, the goat cheese, and the Gruyere. So next, they recommend that you next put down your meats or your cured meats. And this is a little bit tricky because with cured meats, we know that there's a lot of salt. So Kristina is going to talk about that, about the different types of meat that we have. So first, we selected a summer sausage. And this summer sausage you can buy at any grocery store. It's pre-packaged. It comes in a big log like this. And all I did was kept it in circles, took off the casing, so it looks just like this. So that's all we did for our summer sausage. So Kristina, what about our summer sausage? What do you think about the sodium intake on the summer sausage?
Yeah, so as Amanda mentioned, cured meats are going to be a pretty high source of sodium. The way that they're made, salt is added and then they're aged for a certain amount of time, and that creates that curing process and the flavor and texture of the different meats that we have here. You will be able to find some lower sodium options at the store. You just kind of have to, look for those labels. Usually a brand will have a regular version and a lower sodium. You can also flip over the package and check out the nutrition facts label and compare that way.
Good. So thank you. So next we're going to do, I picked up prosciutto, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I think these are pretty much just really thin slices of ham. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So what about prosciutto? What do you think about these?
So as with, our sausage and some other deli meats we have here, it is heavily salted during processing. But because it is a ham product, one thing you could do is get, lunch meat ham and kind of get a thinly sliced version. If you're buying it at the counter, you can ask them to slice it thinner for you and roll it up just like Amanda is here. But that's definitely one way to reduce our sodium.
So this prosciutto is very thin sliced. It's pre-packaged, so we know it's gonna have a lot of salt already. And all I'm doing is I'm just rolling it up in a little, what you call this? I'm just like a little roll. I'm just rolling it up, and then we're just placing them, just placing them on the tray. So Kristina, is there another alternative for, I know you mentioned ham. Is there anything else that you recommend that we could maybe switch out of instead of this really has a little bit of high salt? Like, what do you think?
So you could definitely choose some other lunch meats. You could easily do turkey or beef or like sliced roast beef, and just look for lower sodium options that way. And then maybe too, you may have somebody that doesn't consume pork or wants to limit their intake of it, so having a good variety can be really helpful.
Cool, those are great. I think ham, my kids would not eat this. I think regular ham is a good option, so thank you for that. The next type of meats that I picked up is this is a deli selection. It has 3 different types of meat. It has a pepper salami, it has a hot capocolo, I think it's called, and a hot calabrese. So these are a little bit on the spicier side. So Kristina, what do you think about these salamis, but they're on the spicy side? Do they have more salt, or what?
Yeah.
What do you?
I would say it's probably a similar amount of sodium to some of the other meats that we already have out. I think including something spicy can be a fun way to add contrast to the board. Maybe just being mindful of the group that you're presenting the board to, make sure people are okay with spice or know that it's on there. And with these pre-sliced like salamis and pepperonis and things like that, you can look for a lower sodium option as well if you're wanting to reduce your sodium.
So these salamis are all they're all pre-sliced and they're round. These are really thin. So all I'm doing is folding them in half and then folding them again like a little triangle, and then I'm kind of fanning them out on the board right here.
I really like that triangle technique. I haven't seen that, but it adds some fun shapes to the board.
Listen, you can Google anything. You can Google how to do your own charcuterie board, and I learned about these little cute little triangles. So that's what I'm doing. Next, I'm going to use is the this is the peppercorn salami, and it's just salami, and on the edges it has that peppercorn, so that's where you're going to get that spice. And I'm just going to fold them in half, and I'm just going to lay them over here on this side of the board.
And I know you asked about the sodium in these. So because there's 3 different kinds of meats on here, it may actually vary. This one is pepper crusted. It's possible there's also some additional salt in that pepper crust. Oftentimes you'll be able to see the nutrition facts for each specific item in a variety pack, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's true. So I just folded them in half and I just laid them out here in the corner. Now with your board, you can put as much meat, as much cheese. We're just putting a little bit out for a demonstration. And then the last one is this. This is going to be the hot cabocolo. I hope I'm getting that right. And it's the same thing. I'm just going to put a little triangle. I'm going to fold them in half and then do a little triangle and set them on the other side next to the brie.
The beautiful thing is you don't have to know how to pronounce it to eat it. So.
Right, that's true. And that's a great tip, right? So I'm calling it all salami. It's spicy. I make sure just to tell my friends, like Kristina mentioned, that it's spicy, because some people might have a food allergy, or their stomachs might not be sensitive enough to the spiciness. So just make sure you're putting any type of that spicy meat on there to let your family and friends know. Okay, so now that we have our board, we have our meats, we have our cheeses. Next, we are going to fill in the rest with fruits and veggies. And we have today some red bell pepper, yellow red pepper, some carrots, some strawberries, apple slices, and pears. So Kristina, how do you, I know this is probably a better alternative than the dried fruits. So what do you think about having our veggies, our peppers? What other veggies can we incorporate?
Oh, yeah, all sorts of things. You can do sliced cucumbers. What else? Yeah, think about it for a second. You could even possibly do like a lettuce wrap kind of situation, which would be fun, you know, having that on a separate tray for people to grab and make roll-ups and things like that. I really like the bell peppers and carrots because they're great for dunking into different dips and sauces. You could do fresh broccoli. Really, the sky's the limit. You can also include some pickled veggies, just wanting to be mindful of, you know, the sodium in there as well. So maybe keeping your serving to a smaller amount, but pickles do really nicely. Pickled okra. I know we're gonna throw olives on here too, and so those are brined.
All right, so I just put down our red peppers on one corner. I put the yellow ones on another side. And as we mentioned earlier, your charcuterie board should also be colorful. So we have the red, the yellows, we have the cheeses and the whites and the carrots. So also add color and don't be afraid to play with it. There is no right way or wrong way to do a board. Just be, you know, be creative. And again, you don't have to have a big board either. You can do this on a plate, on a platter. Use what you have at your home, I think is really important. So next, apples. Kristina, what do you think about apples and nutritional value? We know apples are really good, but of course, we know that people who have diabetes and eating that fresh fruit has that natural sugar.
Right. Yeah. So one thing that can really help is you know, keeping the peel on our apples. You're getting a lot of the fiber from there as well as
I did.
she did, absolutely. You're getting more of the fiber and other nutrients, vitamins, and minerals in there. And that rule applies to, you know, most of our fruits and veggies with edible skins. More nutrition is found in that peel. So, you know, with managing blood sugar or watching our carbohydrate intake, we just want to be mindful of our portion sizes.
Yeah.
And so fruit is a very important, you know, food group that we want to include in our everyday diet, just being mindful of the size of it.
Yes. And then lastly, I got a pear and I just cut it and it looks like a cute little pear shape. So I'm just gonna, you know, tuck these in wherever we have some room. So up here by the carrots, I'm gonna put a couple of pear slices.
And it really is adorable. I have never seen pear sliced this way, and I'm gonna have to like go home and try it out myself.
Thank you, you know.
And Amanda made a great point earlier too, that we want our boards to be really colorful. And with our fruits and veggies, you know, getting a variety of color is so important because those different colors mean we're getting different nutrients. And that's really why variety is so important in all of our food groups.
That's right, we want to be colorful. All right, so now that we have our cheeses, our meats, our fruits, our veggies, lastly, you can see that we have some spots. And lastly, we want to fill that part up with crackers. If you have like French bread, you can cut it up into little triangles and fill that area. I got this it's an assortment of 6 different types of crackers. And this is really good because again, it's going to appeal to different audiences. Oh, here. Okay, so next we're just gonna pop in the crackers wherever there's a little bit of space. So I'm just gonna grab a couple of these round wheat ones, I think that's what it looks like. So what about, we know that carbs are sometimes not our friend. And so what about the bread and the crackers, Kristina? What can we do?
Yeah.
Or what are different options, I guess?
It's a great question. So, you know, our grain foods like our crackers and breads and pastas and everything like that, it's an important part of our diet, one of our important food groups. We get a lot of good nutrition from them. And carbohydrates provide our body with the energy that we can really easily use. It's broken down very quickly. But one thing that we want to be mindful of is trying to get more whole grains in our diet. And I know Sonja talked about this as well. So we want to aim to get at least 50% of our grains as whole grains. So looking for those 100% whole wheat crackers or breads or things that are multi-grain can be a really great way to do that. And by opting for whole grains, we're getting more fiber, we're getting more B vitamins and iron and other good nutrients because it's a less processed version of that grain. And all of the nutrition hasn't been stripped from it.
Awesome. Yeah, so we chose these assorted crackers. Again, you can read the nutritional value on the back of the crackers. Most of them are, they look like they're whole wheat, but some of them have either, it looks like some type of, looks like they have sesame seeds on these. So just, you know, be mindful of what you want to put down. You can use bread, you can use whole wheat bread, you can use baguettes, any type of cracker that you have, or you can find it at the grocery store. All right, so lastly, we are going to fill our bowls. This large bowl, I'm going to use olives, but again, you can use dips, right, Kristina? You can do any, like an artichoke dip, a spinach dip, some guacamole, hummus. That's another great one to use your veggies to dip in. So I am just literally just gonna pour. Well, I was hoping the olives would go in there. So olives are in there.
One thing I'll say to keep in mind with olives is some are going to be pitted and some won't be. And, you know, it's your preference on what you serve, but if you are serving those with pits, make sure people know so that they don't hurt their mouth or
becomes a choking hazard.
Right.
You're right. Next, I have this other small bowl, and I found these almonds, dried cranberries, and dark chocolate nutmegs, and I'm just going to put this in the bowl. But dark chocolate is good for your heart. Kristina, what do you think?
Yes. So I love talking about this because I love dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is going to have an antioxidant in it called flavonols, which is, there's a lot of research that shows it's good for our heart health and just overall health in general, as all of our antioxidants are. When you are shopping for dark chocolate, though, you want to look for one that is in the range of 70% or more. And it should say that on the bar or however you're buying it. Below that range, we may not be getting quite as many health benefits, and there may be more added sugar than we want.
Okay, that's great. So lastly, our board is pretty much full, but I also found these two cute little jams. And one is sour cherry. And again, if you have bread, you can put this near the bread and they can use that as a spread. So I have a little spot right here next to my strawberries that is a little open. I'm going to put that one there. And then this one is a, how do you pronounce that?
I think it's
Keats. It looks like it's a pear. It's really, really small little jam. I found these at HEB. They're like $1.25 or $1.50. And again, I have a little spot right here next to my apples. And I'm just going to put my jam right down there. And then this pretty much is our charcuterie board. We do have some toothpicks that we're going to put on a couple of our cheeses. We want to make sure that everyone who picks up a cheese is not using their hands. Oops, there go my toothpicks. And some strawberries. And then we do have, lastly, some little spreaders that another colleague of ours brought, Lora, who you heard earlier. And we're going to use these for our jam.
Those are adorable.
They're so cute. I don't know if you can see them, but they're so cute. Let me take these toothpicks out of here. All right, so I think we did have some dried apricots. And Kristina, what about dried fruit in our board? What do you think? I mean, I know it has a lot of sugar.
Yeah, so the way that our fruits are dried, the moisture, the water is taken out of them during processing, so they become a concentrated source of sugar. They are naturally occurring sugars though, so you're getting a lot of other good nutrition, some fiber. Apricots especially are high in potassium, which can actually help counter effect when we get too much sodium in our diet. They all work together to regulate our blood pressure. So we just want to be mindful of our portion size. For most of us, that's going to be like a small handful of dried fruit.
So yes, here's our board. Again, there is no right way or wrong way to do a charcuterie board. You can use any types of meats. I think Kristina gave us a lot of good options with ham and turkey, different types of cheeses, mozzarella, maybe not using dried fruit, but using fresh fruit is always good. And again, make it colorful. This has great color. We did not spend a lot of money on all our products. Our meats, our cheeses, and our fruits came from Aldi, and I spent $40. And
We are not promoting.
we are not promoting Aldi, but you could do this on a very small scale budget. This is gonna feed probably quite a few people, and we still have meat left over and cheese left over and fruit left over. So you can make it as big as you want, as small as you want. It doesn't have to be on a fancy, beautiful board. It could be a plate, a platter, anything you want. And then of course, when you serve your charcuterie board, what kind of drink options do you think we can serve with our board, Kristina?
So there's a lot of options, but of course, you know, if we are consuming a large amount of sodium, we probably want to make sure we're drinking something really hydrating like water.
And then could you infuse the water with some fruit maybe?
Absolutely, that would be a really nice kind of fancy addition to our already
Yeah.
fancy charcuterie board.
You know, use a nice pretty champagne flute, put a little, you know, we got extra strawberries, drop a strawberry in there with that water to get some infused, and it really hydrates us because we will be eating a little bit of too much salt for our charcuterie board. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy our board, and I hope you make one. And if you do, take a picture and put it on our FCH Facebook page or send it to Susan, because we definitely want to see your boards. Again, there's no wrong way, there's no right way. Look at, this is my first time. Yay!
It's amazing.
We did a board. And again, Google is your best friend. You can look it up, type in charcuterie boards, and then you get so many beautiful pictures. But if you do want to send us a picture, we really want to see what you do. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time on our Wellness Wednesday.
Thank you. Enjoy the
Thank
presentation.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.